Right now, humanoid robotics is splitting into two timelines at the same time. One timeline is about new bodies, robots that don't just get stronger, but get weirder in a good way, expanding, shrinking, swimming, floating, and doing things that rigid humanoids physically can't. The other timeline is about scale, robots stepping out of shipping crates like they're being deployed as a fleet, factories opening just to mass produce humanoid joints, and real shipment numbers climbing into the thousands. And today's lineup hits both. In Shenzhen, researchers at Southern University of Science and Technology revealed GrowHR, a soft humanoid that can nearly triple its height, crawl, float, swim, and even walk on water. Also in Shenzhen, LimX Dynamics showed 18 humanoids deploying out of crates and moving in formation, tied to their agent-style operating system concept called COSA. In Denmark, the humanoid artist Ida just made an architectural debut with retro-futuristic pod house concept at the Odsen Center, running until October 18th, 2026, and the space angle is getting very real. EngineAI says it's preparing the PM01 platform as a robot-astronaut concept, while X-Humanoids embodied Tiangong reportedly linked directly to a low Earth orbit satellite to complete a task without relying on ground networks. Plus, China just opened a massive joint production line for humanoids, and Unitree's own statement says that it shipped 5,500 humanoids in 2025, with 6,500 produced. This is happening right now, so let's break it down. Most humanoids today share the same basic philosophy: rigid frame, joint motors, and a predictable skeleton. That's great for control and strength, but it's terrible for adaptation. GrowHR goes after that trade-off directly. The SUS tech team basically asked, what if a humanoid had a body structure that could change shape on purpose, the way biological systems do? Their inspiration isn't soft like a balloon, it's soft but structured like a bone. Strong in the right direction, compliant where it needs to be, and lightweight for how capable it is. So the robot uses growable linkages, expendable chambers paired with tensioned cables, and rigid adapters that keep the shape stable, plus a textile layer that prevents chaotic inflation. In plain English, it can extend and contract, but it doesn't turn into a wobbling inflatable tube. Now, here's where the numbers start feeling like a cute prototype and start feeling like a new technology. The link structures can extend up to 315%, and the robot can extend height by 278%, getting close to 1.36 meters at full stretch, and then shrink again to fit spaces rigid humanoids would fail at. That matters because in real-world rescue scenarios, the limiting factor is often not can you lift something heavy, it's can you get through a gap without becoming the thing that's stuck. And GrowHR stays light. The reports around it put the whole robot around 4.5 kilograms, which is 9.9 pounds, and lightweight isn't just a nice to have, it's why the next part is even possible. Now, GrowHR isn't being framed as a walker first, it's a multi-mode platform. It can crawl, and the published coverage points to crawling demonstrations and performance gains when the growable structure and motors work together, basically proving that shape change isn't a gimmick. It can amplify locomotion. Then you hit the part that sounds like sci-fi, but is described as a demonstration behavior. Because it's so light, GrowHR can float and swim, and it's shown walking on water in reported demos. And the flight angle needs to be understood correctly. It's not claiming the robot has built-in jet propulsion. The point is, the platform is light enough that adding ducted fans or quad rotor support becomes feasible for short-range aerial movement. That is the real message. The robot body is becoming a modular base that you can reconfigure for different terrain and mission profiles. And importantly, this isn't just a random lab clip. The work is positioned as serious research direction, with reports pointing back to publication and science advances. So GrowHR is one signal. Humanoid design is expanding beyond metal person. Now we jump to the opposite signal. Humanoids scaling like products. Now, on the other side, we have LimX, and the most interesting part of LimX footage isn't the walking, it's the scenario. 18 humanoids placed in a container like crates, doors open, and the robots stand up, avoid collisions in tight spaces, file out, and then move together in a formation. That's not a lab stage, that's a simulation of real deployment conditions, and LimX frames this around COSA, their agentic OS concept meant to unify high-level cognition with whole-body motion. Whether you buy every marketing phase or not, the direction is clear. This is about treating multiple robots as a coordinated group, not isolated machines that happen to share a room. Because one humanoid doing a demo is impressive. A fleet deploying smoothly is a business model. And now for a very different corner of the humanoid world. Aida, the humanoid robot artist, has stepped into architecture with a pod house concept on display in the Utzon Center in Denmark as part of the exhibition I'm Not a Robot. The show is running until October 18th, 2026, and the project is described as retro-futuristic, space-age-inspired living concept built around the idea of humans and robots cohabitating. This matters for one reason. It's not about robots taking jobs, it's about robots entering spaces humans usually reserve for identity, design, taste, aesthetics, and what the future should look like. And it forces the uncomfortable question, how much is the robot and how much is the human team behind it? Even coverage around Aida leans into the blurred line. Prompting, tooling, human support, and the robot's agency as a creative actor. So while the industry talks about robots replacing repetitive labor, this is a reminder that humanoids are also becoming cultural artifacts. Now, let's go to the most ambitious direction of all: space. EngineAI, based in Shenzhen, has publicly discussed plans to push its PM01 platform towards a space-ready humanoid concept, partnering with Beijing Interstellar Human Spaceflight Technology. The logic is obvious. Space is hostile, repairs are risky, and if a humanoid can handle tasks in microgravity or on-orbit maintenance workflows, you reduce dangers to humans and by a wide margin. Coverage describes PM01 as integrating high-precision sensing, fast motion response, and autonomous decision-making goals for that environment. And on the commercial side, PM01 isn't just a concept. EngineAI has also positioned versions for education and commercial use, with reports about pricing that starts around $12,000. Now, here's the second space story, and it's less about the future launch and more about proving a capability right now. X-Humanoid's embodied Tiangong robot was reportedly as the first humanoid to link directly to a LEO satellite, specifically referencing a connection with a galaxy space satellite, and transmit real-time visual motion data without relying on ground networks in the same way. The demo described the robot completing a real task, retrieving an item and delivering it, while the data streamed via satellite. The why this matters is very simple. Disaster zones, remote areas, war-damaged infrastructure, places with dead networks. If satellite-link embodied robots become normal, connectivity stops being the bottleneck for robotic deployment. Now, back on Earth, the supply chain is getting industrial. A big chunk of humanoid cost in joint and actuation, so if you want cheap humanoids at scale, you don't just need better AI, you need mass production of high consistency joint modules. That's why this is a major headline. EU Robot Technology opened what's being called the world's first automated production line dedicated to human-robot joints in Shanghai, with an annual capacity around 100,000 units and room to expand. Now, look at what happened happening on the demand side. Unitree released a statement saying its actual shipped humanoid volume exceeded 5,500 units in 2025, with mass production output exceeding 6,500 units. And market research summaries tied to the IDC describe global humanoid shipments reaching around 18,000 units in 2025, with revenue around $440 million. China's dominance in installations is also being reported by major outlets, with claims that China accounted for more than 80% of global humanoid installations in 2025. Even Elon Musk has been publicly pointing at China as the toughest competitive landscape for humanoids because of the combination of manufacturing scale and AI capability. And when you zoom out even further, China's own government-linked statistic paints the same picture. By the end of 2024, China had 451,700 smart or intelligent robotics enterprises with 6.44 trillion yuan in total registered capital. So the story isn't a cool robot video, the story is the pipeline. Parts, factories, shipments, deployments is forming in real time. Now, if you had to bet on the next 5 years, what do you think dominates? The new body approach where robots like GrowHR redefine what a humanoid can physically be, which is shrinking, expanding, floating, adapting to the environment, or maybe the fleet approach where companies prove multi-robot coordination and autonomous deployment like LimX is hinting at. Or maybe you think that the factory approach will be the leading one, where the winners are the ones who can mass produce joints, drive costs down, and ship thousands of units like we're already starting to see. Because the truth is, the best robot doesn't always win. The robot that wins is the one that's reliable, cheap enough, and manufacturable enough to show up everywhere. Now, I want your take. Which country dominates humanoids 5 years from now, and why? Drop it in the comments, and if you want the real story behind the world's fastest moving AI breakthroughs, make sure to like and subscribe to Evolving AI for daily coverage. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.